All right, hello everybody, and welcome to RailSafe's Blue Flag Protection in Industrial Operations webinar. Before we get started today, we have a quick disclaimer here. Now, we're going to be talking about general blue flag guidelines in the rail industry. Your site may have specific concerns, intricacies that need to be addressed. We'll have some contact information at the end of the program. Feel free to message us, and we're more than happy to discuss your specific situation. My name is Andrew Johnstone. I will be the host today. Russell York, Director of Program Development, will be leading our conversation. Russell has over 45 years of railroad management, operations, and safety experience. I can't think of any better person to lead us through this conversation than Russell. Russell, take it away.
Hey, thank you, Andrew. Appreciate that. Hey, today, folks, we're going to discuss blue flag protection, one of the most important safety procedures in the railroad industry. The purpose of blue flag protection is really simple, folks, is to protect employees who are working on or between equipment from unintended movement. These are some of the key points that we'll cover today. We're going to review what blue protection is, why it exists, explain that a blue flag or blue signal means employees are working and equipment must not be moved. We'll also emphasize that employee safety always takes a priority over operations. We're going to know when it's required. We're going to discuss several situations where employees are inspecting, repairing, loading, unloading, servicing, or otherwise working on the rail equipment. We'll recognize some violations, identify some common violations, such as moving equipment under blue flag protection. Also, removing protection without authorization, or even failing to establish protection properly, and applying best practices. This is following company procedures and regulatory requirements. What is blue flag protection? Why does it matter? You know, blue flag protection exists because railroad equipment can move unexpectedly. And when employees are working on, underneath or between equipment, they're extremely vulnerable to injury or death. Some of the things we talk about is workers between and under equipment. Employees are often underneath performing inspections, or the work underneath the car, tank cars, every type of equipment I've seen, flat cars, hoppers, just about anything in the industrial arena now, in the industrial plant yard operations. In many of these situations, employees have little or no ability to escape if the equipment begins moving. Unexpected movement can really cause injuries. Many railroad fatalities have occurred because someone assumed a track or rail car was protected when it simply wasn't. Protection against accidents and protection also prevents accidents. Blue flag protection creates a clear visual and physical indication that employees are working. That's what we're looking for. It establishes positive protection against movement and requires authorization before protection can be removed. One of the most common causes of accidents, even in the industrial rail operations world, is communication failure. And it just follows along with blue flag protection. One of the most common causes of blue flag protection failure is poor communication. Effective communication ensures employees understand who's working on the job, who the employees you're working with, where protection is established, and who has authority over that protection. So let's start off with job briefings. When you do a job briefing, make sure it's a good and a thorough job briefing before the work begins. You want to discuss the work location, the type of protection being used, who's responsible for what, and any of the potential hazards going on that day. Communications between crews, switching crews, contractors. It could be maintenance personnel, operators. One thing to always consider is never assume another crew knows protections in place. It's really important. Communication between operators. It could be locomotive operators, remote control operators, mobile rail car movers. They all must know when the track equipment is protected. They all must have that positive protection and have the knowledge of it. Critical to safety. It's very critical. A clear, concise, and verified communication is used. This prevents misunderstandings that can lead to equipment moving unexpectedly. And probably one of the biggest things that I've seen, it's probably been around over the 50 years that I've worked on the railroad, is the authority to remove protection. This is probably one of the most important blue flag rules. It's really important to know that the same employer group that established the blue flag protection, they're the ones that must remove it. What is blue flag protection? When I teach a class, I always point to four things in blue flag protection, the biggest components. First of all, if the cars are properly secured with handbrakes, we don't recommend using air brakes to secure a car. Air brakes are used to slow down cars. There's only one way to secure a car, folks, and that's applying a sufficient amount of handbrakes. Additionally, we like to see the rail cars chalked. I've been around, and probably some of the folks here who load tank cars. When you load a tank car, the material inside sloshing around a little bit, you can see the wheels move. These wheel chocks provide additional layer of protection against movement. And then we get into the physical protection. What is physical protection? This actually prevents the equipment from entering the track where employees are working. It physically prevents them. This may include a couple things. This may include a derail position to stop unauthorized movement, or you could use a switch line and locked away from the protected track. A lot of people think of this as like lockout, tag out. I imagine a lot of you on this call familiar with that term, lockout, tag out. Physical protection is often the most critical element because it provides a positive barrier against movement. That's a positive barrier. It's also sometimes the last line of defense. The notification protection, that's actually the visual protection. It's going to be the blue flags, blue signs. Most of the time they look like men at work signs. They notify the train crews and operators that employees are working. They're working on the tracks. The notification, what's important is it must be placed far enough away to provide adequate warning before reaching the protected area. The blue signal is the importance of the blue signal. It provides a clear message. Everybody should understand this. Do not move equipment. Do not enter this protected track. The thing to take away from this slide here is the blue flag protection, just not a single device or an action. It's a combination. It's a combination of securement. It's a combination of physical protection, notification, and communication. And together protect employees from unexpected equipment movement. Here's an example we can show you here about protecting a protected car. This would be a single entry siding. This slide is one example of properly establishing blue flag protection, where rail cars or locomotives could enter the track where work's being performed. In this example, it's like a spur track. Many of you probably have spur tracks where they're just one entry location. You're going to have a switch that's lined and locked to prevent movement into the protected track. Additionally, there's a derail installed. This is going to provide additional physical protection where if the switch wasn't lined or locked, if something tried to end the track, that's your protection. It would derail. And you have the blue flag or minute work signs. They're placed properly to notify anyone approaching the track. And as we mentioned before, these cars are going to have the handbrakes applied and the wheels chalked. We also have mentioned here on this slide that the track clearance markers help ensure equipment remains clear of adjacent tracks. So the key point I'd like to just mention is that even if somebody makes a mistake and attempts to enter the track, the combination of the switch protection, derail protection, and the notification protection provides multiple layers of defenses. As we talk through these slides, always remember there's going to be multiple layers of protection. And when you start peeling away some of these protections and their shortcuts are taken, you're obviously going to increase your risk of some type of accident. This is an example of a dual entry siding. As you can see in the upper example, the track can be entered from either direction. So what that means is the protection has to be established at both ends. So you have blue flags, they're required at each entrance. The switches and derails, they're utilized to protect movement against into the track. In this example, you could have the switches lined and locked for the straight rail of the main line. Then you have derails inside the track. One thing also to consider, I've been around a lot of different facilities, and the configuration of the tracks is just about different every place I've seen. And the employees that work there should always think about every possible route equipment could take to enter the work area. One example I'd like to mention is take in consideration is that I see a lot is crossover switches. In this example, you have a dual entry socket. In many places, you might have a crossover switch in this area. So you have to take all this consideration of where you place your protection. So if the equipment can enter from two directions, protection must be provided from two directions. This protection from one end leaves the employees exposed. So what I'd like for you to do, folks, if you just take a second, if you got a pen or pencil, just jot this down. Take this with you when you go back to your facility. When you go back to your plant yard, ask yourself, when you're preparing blue flag protection facility, what are all the possible ways equipment could enter the track where employees are working? I guarantee everybody's going to be a little bit different, but the protection should be the same. So in this bottom example, where it has a track into a building, you can see tracks into the building require special attention because employees often have very limited escape routes. In this example, the derail's position outside the building will stop the movement before the equipment enters the structure. So, a discussion question is, if a rail car unexpectedly rolled toward this building, where would we want it stopped? Obviously you'd want it at the derail. You want it at the bumping post, certainly not inside the building where the employees are working. Blue flag protection can be displayed in several different forms. While the appearance may vary, the meaning is always the same. Employees, there's somehow one way or another they're working on top of the car, in between them, and you basically want movement prohibited in those locations. So in this example, you have the old style, just a blue flag. That's a traditional blue flag that's been used throughout the railroad industry. In the center picture in this slide, it's a blue light. It's often used in industrial facilities, repair tracks, maintenance areas, whatnot. They provide continuous visibility both during daytime and nighttime operations. They're commonly mounted near switches or derails or entrances to repair tracks, or even building entrances. The good thing to remember about a blue light, it carries the same authority as a blue flag. So remember this, if a blue light is displayed, equipment must not be moved. And then we go on the right picture where you have the traditional blue sign. They're commonly used in industries and customer-owned tracks. They often contain messages such as stop, employees working like the one you have in this picture, or it could have minute work. Again, these are the notification protection. And they clearly identify the protected work areas. When you place a sign, just make sure you place it far enough advance to provide adequate warning before reaching the protected track. Now, important reminder, whether it's a flag, a light, a sign, all these blue flag devices that you see here communicate the same safety message. Okay, the form of blue flag protection may differ from facility to facility, but the meaning never changes. Employees protected, and equipment must not be moved until the protection is properly removed. This is an example of a practical example how blue flag protection is established at the entrance to a track. You can see this picture on the left. The goal of establishing protection at the entrance of a track is to provide both notification protection and physical protection before the employees begin work. So the blue flag or blue sign is positioned at the entrance for the protected track, as you can see here. This provides immediate notification to train crews that would be coming down the track. It could be a locomotive operator, mobile rail car mover, whoever could enter that track. So the main thing to consider is keep the blue flag. It should be visible and placed where it can be recognized before entering the protected area. On the switch lock, the switch lockout mechanism, this is where the switch is lined away from the protected track and secured with a lock. What this does is prevent unauthorized access into the work area. It's kind of like the lockout tagout I mentioned before. So lock switch is one of the most effective forms of protective physical protection that I see. On that, like I mentioned before, on this right photo, the lockout device physically secures the switch. It's an excellent example of providing positive physical protection into the work area. In my experience in industrial facilities, one of the most common methods of using blue flag protection is lining and locking a switch away from the protected track. The key thing want you to remember about this slide is that effective blue flag protection requires both things, right? Notification and physical protection. Remember this, a blue flag warns them, but the lock switch provides physical protection, and it physically prevents equipment from entering the track where your employees are working. This slide represents some highlights from some of the most common failures identified during rail-safe's our risk assessments that have been done over a several year period. What these findings are showing that as a result of our risk assessments and our audits, that many blue flag issues are not caused by a lack of rules. Actually, these blue flag issues are caused by failure to properly apply the rules. You have blue flags not placed properly, almost 71% of the time. This observation involves improper placement of the blue flag or the blue sign. So what could be some of the common issues? What we're seeing is that the flag is placed either too close to the work area, the flag's not visible to the approaching operators. It could be the flag's positioned incorrectly, the direction of movement. A lot of times the flag's just missing. It's missing protection altogether. If the operators can't clearly see the blue flag or blue sign, then the protection may not be effective. Here you see physical protection. 91, almost 92% of the times we see that physical protection is not in place. That's probably the most concerning finding that we see. Physical protection is often missing, improperly applied or not verified. Some examples, what we're seeing is no V-rails installed when required, or the switch is not lined and locked for the movement. Could be a lock that's missing from the switch, not a proprietary lock. Or the track's not fully isolated from rail movements. Maybe a crossover switch is not lined. The physical protection, folks, you got to understand this. It's what actually prevents equipment from entering the protected area. And 91% is pretty concerning. So the teaching point I'd have for everybody here today is that the notification component, it tells the people not to enter, but the physical protection prevents them from entering. We discussed best practices with blue flag protection. You know, blue flag protection is most effective when it's supported by strong procedures, when you have ongoing training and are performing regular audits. That's what I'd like to discuss here just for a second. The safest facilities don't really rely on memory. They rely on systems, they rely on verification. So you should, at your facility, you probably should have some type of written procedure. They should have a clear written blue flag procedure in place for employees to follow, that they can go out when they go to work, they can look at it if they're not familiar with it. These procedures, what I think should include is when they read the procedure, when is the protection required? When's it required? Who can establish the protection? Who can remove it? What physical protection must be used? What kind of physical protection do you have? What are your options? What's the communication process you're going to use? What are the job briefing requirements? You know, and another thing too is these procedures are not one size fit all. These procedures actually should be site specific, account for the facility's track layout and operations. As I mentioned before, a lot of facilities have crossover switches, all sorts of different configurations. Make sure to take that consideration. Let's look at training. You know, your employees should receive some type of training. I'd recommend initially and refresher training on blue flag protection. This should include both classroom training, theory, and also the practical on the job field application. And then audits, you know, that's just the follow-up component of your best practices. Regular audits are going to help you identify any gaps before they lead to incidents. I believe some of your audits should verify you're out there auditing this. Are the blue flags properly placed? Are they in the right position? Is the physical protection in place? Is it correctly being used? Our job briefing is being conducted. Is everybody aware of what the blue flag areas are going to be? We're having good job briefings. Do all these employees that are working, do they understand the responsibilities? And one thing about it, when you have findings like this and you have corrective actions, use these as coaching opportunities. Use it as an opportunity to improve the procedures and show that you're really interested in their safety, and and it really goes along uh, as a leadership development opportunity. Supervisors, we go into supervisor responsibilities, leadership opportunities. We really believe that the supervisors play a critical role in blue flag protection. Well, I believe that everybody is responsible for their own safety, but the supervisors, I believe, are responsible for ensuring the procedures are understood, they're followed, and they're consistently applied. So, how do we ensure the compliance? Well, just verify that the blue flag protection is established before work begins. Go out and perform an audit. Confirm the employees are following the written procedures. Conduct some job briefings. Talk to you guys about the blue flag protection. Make sure everybody understands it. Maybe have a little question Q&A. And then never allow production pressures to override safety requirements. Never let them have the opportunity to take a shortcut because we're busy. We got some production issues. We got to get these cars loaded, and we don't need the physical protection right now. Let's just pop up the sign. And then monitoring safety. Regularly observe work activities in the field. You can verify the blue flags, derails, locks, handbrakes are being used correctly. Make sure the cars are chalked, and then watch for changes in conditions that may require additional protection. You know, I always believe it's important to encourage employees to ask questions and report concerns without fear of criticism. Right now, I'd like to turn this over to Mike Land, who's going to speak a little bit to you about some of the components we've been discussing as part of this blue flag protection. Go ahead, Mike.
Muting problem there. Hi, my name's Mike Lannon. I'm the CEO here at Aldon Company. So Russell's got some great info in this webinar here, so thanks Russell and the crew for putting it on. And I'll just touch real quickly on a couple of items that Russell mentioned here. Here at Aldon, we can definitely have you covered for blue flag protection needs. We have a very wide variety of holders, signs, lights. We have both permanent and temporary products. We make our sign plates here in-house that actually exceed both DOT and all the railroads standards. So you get, really good quality signage that, stands up out in the field for a long time. And we have a very, large variety of flagging products in general. So if you need help on any selection of the products, you're just a phone call or email or website chat away from us, really. You can grab the next slide there if you could, Andrew. And like Russell mentioned, physical isolation is very important. Don't just put up the blue sign. You want the physical isolation in place. And for typical tracks, derails are the go-to product. And by typical, I mean conventional exposed tracks with ballast and ties, similar to pictures on the left there, right? We have lots of options there. We have portable derails. We have permanently mounted, hinged, and sliding derails, manually and automatically actuated signs, handle options. We can accommodate wood, steel, resin, concrete ties. There's all kinds of options there for derails. And we manufacture that here. We can certainly help you out there, including the selection of which product would be best for you, and where to install it in your particular facility. For pavement filled track, you do not want to use a derail. You don't want to derail a car onto concrete. They get pretty unpredictable when you do that. So car stops are your isolation product there. Here we show one of our stop options for flush rail on the right-hand side here. You can one employee can quickly pull that stop on and off the track. No tools. It only takes seconds to do, really. We have hinged and other car stop options too out there. Go ahead and grab the next slide if you would there, Andrew. And of course, if you're unsure of what you need, you're certainly not alone. Most of our customers are not in the rail business, right? You're in the business of refining oil or grinding grain or something, not dealing with the track itself. So we can certainly help evaluate your particular needs and assess which products would be right for you. We've certainly been around for a while. We've been in business here 122 years. We have engineers on staff to answer whatever questions you have and help guide you on the right product selection. Sometimes that's best done in person. We do that too. If you need us to come out, we'll come out. We do not and will not have voicemail here. So if you call us, you talk to a human on the phone, and you can get right to the people you need to talk to get your questions answered. We're also a proud manufacturer of our products. We don't just catalog it and distribute other people's products here. We manufacture it here. A lot of it is right here in house. And because of that, we also keep a sizable inventory on hand in the plant. We don't drop ship products. We stock it here. And being a manufacturer, it also means we can customize the products to your particular need. You have some alteration you need to even a standard issue product that would best suit your needs. We can normally accommodate that. So with that, I'll hand it back on off to Russell.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Appreciate that. Hey, so folks, as we finish up this discussion, again, I'd like to ask, what is blue flag protection? I'd like to just reiterate, blue flag protection means employees are working on, under, or between rail equipment. It's one of the most important protections in railroad operations, certainly one of the biggest ones, most important ones that I'm familiar with in all my years of experience. So the key message is a blue flag is just not a sign, right? It's protection for your fellow employees, your coworkers, people you work with every day. That's important, right? You know, the employer group that, remember that only the placer can remove it. The employer or group that establishes the blue flag protection is responsible for removing it. No one else. No one else should remove the protection without following established procedures. And also, as you probably heard before many times in your career, never assume things. Never assume it's safe, folks. Never assume a track's protected. Never assume someone else has established the protection. Never assume equipment's secured. Make sure those handbrakes are tied. Always verify the blue flags, the physical protection, communication process, and the job briefing requirements every time. I'd like to leave with a couple of key messages. In railroad safety, assumptions lead to incidents. Verification prevents them. You know, my final summary I'd like to just mention to you is that blue flag protection comes down to really three fundamentals: establishing proper protection, right? Communicating clearly, and then verifying before acting. If we consistently follow these principles, I believe we can prevent injuries, prevent fatalities, and ensure every employee goes home safely at the end of the day. That's what we all want, isn't it? I'd like to thank you for your time. I'm going to pass this over and turn it back over to Andrew to close out.
All right. Thank you so much, Russell and Mike, for your insights there. Just a little bit on RailSafe. We have trained over 20,000 plant railroad employees. Here's a short list of our valued customers who we've done business with. We'd like to see you next. If we haven't done business with you, please get a hold of us and we'll talk about training options. Our team comes from all walks of the railroad life, veterans of the Class 1 industries, predominantly, along with some FRA folks. We have the expertise that you need to run a safe plant railroad. And here's some contact information. If you'd like to hear more, please feel free to reach out to Chuck Leonard, founder of RailSafe Training. His number and email are provided there. That QR code will link directly to our website, so you can get more information. That said, I'd like to open the discussion up to question and answer. I will be allowing you to unmute yourselves now. Russell and Mike, you may need to click on that button there again, just as a reminder. Please feel free to bring the questions forward. And I'll take a quick look at chat here. Carson Pester writes, question, I have heard of industries using blue flag protection to restrict railroad access or use. Is this allowed even if no employees are working on or around the equipment? If not, what is the recommended method to restrict railroad access on industry-owned track? And are there penalties or compliance concerns for misuse of blue flag protection?
Well, it's my understanding that there is no problem with using blue flag protection at all times, even if there's not employees in, on, or around the car. It's required when they're in, on, or around the car, but it can certainly be used at times when they are not.
Gary Cousin writes, can you talk about red flags with blue? Red flags with blue flags. I'm guessing the difference between red flags and blue flags.
So I believe my understanding red flag is it protects uh, track out of service, right? There's something wrong with the track out of service. Blue flag protects men and equipment. Red flag indicates the track's out of service beyond the red flag. You have to have a you'd have to have permission from the foreman in charge to pass that red flag. So red flag protects the track. Blue flag protects the men and equipment working underneath the cars. That answer your question, Gary?
Thank you, Russell.
And I'll throw an addition onto that the blue flag cannot be passed even if you do gain permission, right? So if somebody's giving you permission to pass a red flag, foreman gives you permission, you could pass it. If they could give you the permission to pass a blue flag all they want, but until the blue flag is removed, you cannot pass it.
Right. Just for the folks here, if you would like any further information, if you just place your email address in this chat box, we'd certainly get back to you with it. If you'd like any further details on any of these processes. So it's been my experience, when I go to these facilities, is blue flag protection requirements is just not as simple as what I showed in these diagrams. There's also uh, always different types of considerations taken, like when I mentioned crossover switches, how you have to protect that. It's not all the same. So you have to take that into consideration, but you want to make sure all accesses are protected. So if you have any questions, like follow-up information, I'd certainly like to speak with you.
And you may have to consult some regulations of your particular industry. There are some commodities in cars which require certain syntax on blue flags. Some do not. So there's some regulation to be met there as well.
Okay, we have a question that we received prior to the beginning of the webinar. This is one I commonly get in the classroom setting as well. What if the transport provider locks the switch? I'm guessing this means the carrier, the railroad carrier. Does that count as protection?
Well, if you think about it, if you think about it, if the carrier locks the derail entering the track, right? That's what you're talking about. The carrier has a derail. You put up a blue flag protection. Well, I would say no, it doesn't protect it because the carrier could unlock the derail and they come right on in. So it's not a proper form of physical protection. And I have seen that at locations. So you need to have a proprietary lock on it where they cannot access the tracks.
So I guess to expand on that, Russell, if there is a derail at the railroad's mainline switch, that derail is protecting the railroad from cars coming out of the plant, correct?
That's correct. That's what it's protected for. Right. That's for the protection. That's for the protection of the typically the short line or class one river from the employees, the industry getting on the main track. It's not to protect for the industry. So as like Justin Johnson here mentioned, the owner of the track needs their own lock as well. That's correct.
Correct.
That's correct, Justin.
Another question we had, do air brakes count as securement? Do air brakes count as securement? Russell, would you like to answer that one?
Air brakes count as securement. I think we mentioned that before. Air brakes are designed to slow moving equipment. They're not designed to secure equipment. Air brakes do and will bleed off. There's only one way to secure a car, folks. One way, period. It's handbrakes, and apply a sufficient enough amount of handbrakes. So when you spot your cars, make sure you apply sufficient amount of handbrakes, and then also make sure to chalk those wheels.
There's a good number of our industrial customers who are under the belief that rail car air brakes are similar to semi-air brakes, in the fact that once all the air is gone, the brakes are fully engaged, which is not correct. When you lose all the air in the rail car, the brakes are disengaged. So that air will eventually leak. So you need more securement than that. So yeah, run the hand wheels down and chalk the car.
Hey, one question we had also is if you had to pick and choose between one of the protections, the blue flag protection or the physical protection, which one would you choose? Which one's more important? Which one would you
Sure.
which one you say is more important? They're both important, aren't they, right? They're both important. But the physical protection is what keeps the cars from actually moving into the track and striking the equipment, isn't it? The physical protection. That's your last line of defense.
In our here at Aldon, our automatic sign derails give you both at the same time, and you can't have one without the other. You can't pin up the blue flag without the derail in place, and the derail can't be in place without the blue flag going up with it. So it's a nice way to accommodate both at one time in a fairly assured way.
Chuck Leonard writes in the chat here. Let's just a trivia question for all you folks on here today. Car air brakes are required to stay applied for 1 minutes, hours, or days. How long do you all think car air brakes are required to stay applied for during a railroad air brake test? Any guesses?
$3 minutes.
Yeah, minutes. That's correct, which is not a very high standard in my opinion, right? So during a class 1 initial terminal air brake test, air brakes are required to remain applied for 3 minutes, at which point they get a passing grade. So they can and will leak off, and they should not be relied upon for securement purposes.
Right.
Andrew, if I can follow up just a little bit on that previous question, comments. If the blue flag and the derail are not connected together and don't operate simultaneously, just always remember a person operating a locomotive or a person operating a track mobile can run over a blue flag or blue light unintentionally, and that doesn't stop them. Only the physical protection will stop that piece of equipment from getting into that blue flagged area. It's important to remember.
Thank you,
Thank you for
Dennis. Very good point. We've also seen instances of blue flags being blown over by a strong wind, right? So if that physical protection is not in place, access to that track can be attained, regardless if there's a blue flag in place or not.
Yeah, I think that's correct. We also have a comment. If a track mobile is in use, it may enter a track in the middle of a track at crossing. Something to take into consideration when providing protection. And I see that quite a bit. So, as I mentioned before, all facilities are a little bit different. The configurations are different. Where you put your track mobile on and off the track has to be taken into consideration how you protect your employees.
Any other questions, folks? Anything else that may be bothering you, maybe on your mind? We're happy to answer any questions you have now. Okay, well, hey, thank you all so much for attending. We greatly appreciate you all coming to visit with us here today. Hope you take something away from it. Remember, blue flag protection is vital to life and safety out there on the rails. Please make it a #1 priority. With that, I wish you all farewell from the team here at Rail Safe Training. Have a great day, and we hope to talk to you all soon. Goodbye.
Thank you, folks. Thank you much.
Thank you, y'all.
Thank you.